Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with dreamer, entrepreneur, and founder of JKW Vacation Club, Kev Du. He is a first-generation entrepreneur inspired by his roots. His family migrated from Guatemala and Peru, and his childhood was spent bouncing between Utah and Guatemala. These formative experiences shaped his passion for building connections and creating opportunities. With JKW Vacation Club, he has crafted a platform that not only helps travelers save money, but also empowers property owners with innovative tools to grow their businesses. It's an inspirational story. Enjoy.
Where are you located on the planet?
So I'm based in Salt Lake City, Utah, but we operate vacation rentals all throughout Mexico.
Very cool. Well, I love your story. I appreciate you taking a minute. I'm coming from the cold tundra of Kansas City, Missouri. We're getting ready to get hit with this Arctic blast, so it's interesting down here.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into your life as an entrepreneur, the founder of JKW Vacation Club. So again, thank you for taking a minute out. I appreciate it.
Sweet, thank you.
Surviving the pandemic was a big deal, and it really rocked a lot of the business world, especially vacationing. How much of getting through that time period has influenced your business model and the way that you operate as an entrepreneur today?
Yeah, it definitely showed us that global pandemics definitely shake our industry. Little backstory: it was kind of like a scene of The Walking Dead. Mexico had really low COVID rates, and so they wanted to keep it that way. And so as soon as you cross over the border, and the Lukeville border, you'd have to step out and get sprayed down with this special liquid. I can't remember, but it was quite interesting. Well, what made us adapt to that COVID, our short-term rentals took a hit. So what I basically came up with is my own membership model to help us have a model of reoccurring revenue coming in. So our members now have access to all our properties. They prepay in advance. They get some benefits. I like to call it affordable luxury and unmatched benefits. But a member can stay with us an X amount of days and have the properties and access all the properties within the JKW portfolio whenever.
So that's such an interesting business model. I'm curious, if I was to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day and one of the kids in the room is curious as to what you do on a daily basis, how would you explain it?
What I do on the daily basis, it's just hopping on the phone a lot. So I'm also in my MBA program. A big part, so I'm getting my Master's of Business Administration, but the focus is entrepreneurship. Love it that it's not like I'm doing tedious book work. It's all the homework is revolved around my business. And so I'm in the customer discovery phase, and so a lot of times I'm just calling previous guests, property owners, understanding their pain points, their needs, and then, just building a relationship with them and then putting them in our steering group so they can give me feedback. So once our product fully launches, we've narrowed down a solid product.
So I'm curious, when you were in the third grade, what was your dream? What was your ideal life that you wanted to have?
When I was in third grade, surprisingly enough, I wanted to be president. wanted to be president.
So how did this happen?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, take me back to the beginnings of your life, where you were born and raised, and how these entrepreneurial seeds were planted, how this business acumen and specifically the line of work that you got into, how did all this happen and evolve into your career today?
Yeah. So it all came from my mom. My mom's a fighter, go-getter. So, our family originates from Guatemala, and my mom wanted a better life. The status for women there was, you cook, you clean, you be a wife, and there's nothing else much to it. And so she knows she wanted more from that, and so she basically ran away ran away from home at 17 and made her way to the U.S. and then made her American dream, and was a general manager for an auto dealership for quite some time. And so I basically grew up on the car lot, watching my mom close deals and doing business at a very young age. And so that's what basically I was born into a business, and so that's what basically gave me everything I know, but also gave me the instillment power that, hey, one day I want to be my own boss, and I struggle with having bosses right now. So that's one thing about, I love being an entrepreneur, but it is sometimes, a stressful and lonely life, especially for a young 25-year-old.
It's interesting. My dad sold cars. He was really, really good at it. And I grew up on car lots. That was where I would go for the career days and all of that. But the difference was, I would marvel at it. And at one point, I remember one of the guys on the floor said, "Hey, do you want to grow up and be like your dad?" And my dad interrupted and got in there and said, "No, he's not going to be a dummy like me. He's going to go to college and get an education." And I remember that it always used to really hit me hard, but I realized he just did not want me to have to live that life of sales and doing all of that bit by bit,
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Because it is a rough life for sure. But
no, definitely.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Talk to me a little bit about what was the decision or the moment that made you say, I'm going to run my own gig, I'm going to be an entrepreneur? Did you have a flashpoint? What was kind of the career trajectory for you to get into this position where you're running the shows, essentially?
Yeah, career decision. I worked in the ski industry for quite some time. I've been a professional snowboard coach for close to 10 years now, and that's my passion, that I made a career out of it. But I guess just how do I say, I feel like I've just encountered in my life where, and myself and a lot of my entrepreneur friends all agree about it, but and not to hate on others, but when you're driven and you're ambitious and you have these big goals, and you're working within an organization, people sometimes with, I guess you could say lower social skills, lower charismatic, that see someone that's charismatic, people like them, they sometimes put a target on your back. And so I've just found time and time and again, just I kind of somewhat have a target on my back. And I'm like, I'm tired of that. I'm tired of people, just hating. And so that's what's made me just put the foot on the pedal and foot on the gas and just, JKW is Jamie, Kevin Wally, family business, and it's mine and my baby. And yeah, that's kind of the pivotal moment for me.
So when you look at the landscape of entrepreneurs out there, there's always an inspiration in that group. Who has that been for you? What entrepreneur exists on the planet right now that you admire and look up to and maybe would want to meet and hang around and help you on your entrepreneurial path?
Matthew McConaughey and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just love I love reading, and most specifically actors' books. They were just like any other entrepreneur. They were nobody before they built the name out, and it just takes time, persistence. I loved Arnold Schwarzenegger's. He emigrated from Austria to come here, get his American dream. But at that time, his role in the movie industry, he was his body type wasn't I guess you could say, the Academy Awards or Hollywood. So he was put into a bunch of roles where he was like the dumb Hulk, if you could say. And he didn't like that, and so he was like, I'm just being an entrepreneur, and he built his real estate business out, and then at 30, once he was a really multimillionaire, he went back into the movie industry. So that's kind of the footsteps I'm following after as well.
So who has been your personal hero in your life that's helped you become who you are?
Personal hero, definitely my mom and dad. Now more than ever, as I'm supporting them and really taking hold of this family, it's just my mom and dad. I can't stress enough how important family is to us. At the end of the day, you're pushing yourself along the finish line, but you definitely have all that moral support and people applauding you behind your back,
Absolutely. So what is your ultimate motivation every day to wake up and to do this work that you do? Because it's not only work as an entrepreneur, which you said is very hard. I don't think people understand, most people that aren't in the entrepreneurial space, how difficult it is. But you also have to evolve as a human being yourself. How do you balance all that? What is that ultimate motivation every day for you to wake up and be that best version of you?
Yeah. Well, two things. My future kids, I obviously have to find a girl first, but that's what kind of drives me. You got to grind in your 20s so you can live your life in your 30s. I know one day that I want to bring little Rugrats in the world. I don't want. I want to be financial free. I want that a good roof over the head, and it's kind of like that generational wealth. My family, we didn't have that, and so now when I bring those little Rugrats into the world, I want them to have that. And then community is super important to me. Being able to be a role model. I do a lot of nonprofit work for the Chill Foundation. That's Burton Snowboard's nonprofit, where we teach underprivileged youth life lessons through sports. Some of our values are persistence, patience, pride, courage, responsibility. But persistence is the main thing for me. As you know, as an entrepreneur, you have your dailies up and lights and downs. But just like life is just applicable to your snowboard. Sometimes you got to land right flat on your face and then get back up. And so, why I started JKW, community to me, we're more than a booking platform. We're family. To us, community means shared experiences with purposeful travel. It's founded on the principle of people helping people.
So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight, ran into a much younger version of you, say, early high school, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the entrepreneurial path that you've edged so far, and the wisdom you've gained, what advice would you give your younger self?
Don't be afraid to pivot, eliminate distractions. There's a lot of opportunities that come your way. Just learn how to pick the right one. Your time is valuable. You can't. It's better to be how do you say? A narrow, deep river than a wide, shallow one.
Absolutely. So what's the best advice you've ever gotten, personally or professionally?
I'm going to have to pull out my notebook for this one. Honestly, just keeping it simple. Invest your money into real estate. It's, there's a lot of, especially on the internet, invest here, crypto, invest this, Bitcoin, all these different areas of investment. The best investment is stuff that you can see in brick and mortar. You can put your hands on it. Whether that, that's e-commerce and you have your brand and your product, but invest your stuff, invest your money into things that you can hold physically.
So the one thing about being an entrepreneur and being young is that, the sky's the limit. There's dreams abound. So let's say we talk in 10 years from now. Where do you hope you are? Personally, professionally, with your business? What is your hope for the next decade?
Yeah, so I guess another motivating factor, my hope, my dream is outside of now this is more tailored to sports, but I hope to 2028 LA, I qualify for the 2028 LA Olympics as a professional rugby referee. 2031 we have the USA is hosting the World Rugby Cup here. This year is my first year of refereeing at the professional level for Major League Rugby. So, I guess you could say, goal for my sports career is, just become an international acclaimed test match official. And then with my business, it's, we're going to have our booking platform for more than over 20 properties, and our members are traveling to all the properties, and the business is running enough where we can launch our JKW Foundation, doing nonprofit work throughout Mexico and the areas that we're invested in.
So for those of us out in the world that don't understand rugby, and there's, you got your major sports in America, but, rugby is definitely one of those sports that people aren't very familiar with. What do you love the best about the sport? What is something that you could shed the light on the sport that people don't understand that you love the most about it?
It's a hooligan sport played by gentlemen and gentlewomen. Basically for 80 minutes, we're just running around hitting each other. Intensity is pretty hot. But at the end of the game, we all take a bow, and then we go grab a drink together at the bar. So that's like kind of the sports camaraderie behind it. And then just in terms of, there's no other sport that has the respect of the official like rugby has. I've now refereeing at the professional level. It's just crazy that a lot of these men are significantly older than me and significantly bigger than me. But when in game time, and they're bashing heads with other players, it's yes sir, no sir, sorry sir. So that's what I love about rugby, and it's a game that's welcoming and loves everyone back.
In my 20s, when I used to run around to house parties, I'm 52 now, so it's been a while. I remember there was a guy named Neil, and he ran around the group, and he was a big dude, and he was a real intellectual, and we used to really get into it. I loved talking to him, and I don't know if it was the first or second time I met him, but he finally said that he was a professional rugby player, and he was talking to me about all these adventures going to Ireland and how it was one of the more brutal sports. He told me how many bones and teeth he lost and all this stuff, but he was the most gentle intellectual I've ever been around in my life. I will never forget Neil.
Yep. Love it.
Those were some stellar stories. So Kevin, I'm curious, when you look back on your life at this point, of everything you've accomplished and evolved into, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
Ultimately, I recently had a little documentary piece drop about me. It's the Chill Foundation alumni highlight, and then the title is called The Importance of Representation. That video basically summarizes, 8 years of my life that I volunteered to helping these local kids in the Salt Lake Valley, teaching them life lessons on my snowboard. And that documentary piece dropped this past month, but man, it's just cool to see myself on TV. Professional documentary piece came out about me, and it's just highlighting my love and drive to just make a positive impact on this world just through my passion.
So how much attention are you getting from that documentary?
It's got like 400 views right now. But what I'm doing with it really is just sending it out to brands and I guess where I want to go with my personal brand career is, I want to be a professional spokesperson for brands where they just send me a bunch of swag and I review it. And, but yeah, and then overall I'm getting pretty good, I guess you could say, exposure to people within the snowboarding community.
So I'm curious, at the end of the day, everyone out there has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, colleagues, everyone that knows you. But you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I'm a world traveler, man. So right in front of me, I have my world map. In front of me, when I got snowboards hanging on the wall, license plates from all the places I've traveled. And on this world map, I've got it from, most of all of North America, parts of South America, Australia, New Zealand, missing a bunch of Russia and Africa. But I collect all these pins and I put it just in the Atlantic Ocean, Indian, Pacific, and I don't know, I guess, something I want to share on your podcast is like, think, when the day I die and I, have my funeral, I want this world map to be at my viewing, because it just shows, like, Kev got after it. Kev did where he wanted to go. He hopped on a plane and lived these experiences, and so, I don't want I guess the day I die to be all gloomy and depressing. I want it to be insightful and inspiring to some people in that way.
So speaking of being a world traveler, what is one of the most unexpectedly magical, wonderful places that you visited that just you didn't expect it to be like that?
Oh man, so when the day after I graduated college, we hopped on a plane and flew to Egypt. And day one, we were exhausted, and then immediately went straight to the Pyramids of Giza and rode camels around it. And then we were able to go inside the Pyramids of Giza and crawling through tombs, seeing mummies, seeing all these ancient hieroglyphics. But the coolest part was just we took close to a week-long cruise up the Nile, and wow, it was just so luscious and green. Outside, it's called the River of Life for a reason. Outside of the Nile, it's pretty dry, pretty deserty, but so much beaming life all across the Nile. And then being able to, like, hear the prayers of Islam at, the 5 calls a day, inviting Muslims to come to their chapel and say their prayers, like, such an eye opener and way different than Western culture,
So there is a book out there. Have you ever read the book Chariots of the Gods?
I have not.
Okay, so this it's interesting. Basically, it's been adapted into, like, a movie and shows. It's been translated in every language on the planet. The idea is that way back in the day, there was a civilization of aliens that basically left and came back to warn us about not annihilating ourselves and keeping Earth going. And one of the prevailing theories is that the pyramids and other things that are chronicled in this book definitely was of a different race. It was not human. It wasn't what we're used to. So my question to you is this: do you think human beings did those pyramids and what you saw and witnessed?
Oh, no. Definitely, that's, yeah, like, even my guide, Muhammad, he talked about, how there's significant manpower behind this, but specific specific structures, in his opinion, couldn't have been made by man. We didn't have that technology for that, so and we're just a little speck of dust in this massive galaxy. So there's definitely some super cool aliens out there,
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And I've never been a big conspiracy theorist, but that has always intrigued me. I remember even going to Rome and the Pantheon and looking up and seeing that hole in the middle.
Yep.
And they still can't figure out at that point how they made, the dimensions and the way that was perfectly designed is still baffling. So it's good to wonder what's going on. So let me ask you this. If anyone out there wants to catch the documentary, find out what's going on in your world, get involved with your business, any of the good business in your world, where's the best place to go?
Yeah, so for the business, you can check us out at jkwvacationclub.com. And then just for my personal stuff, you want to see my snowboarding and rugby journey, you can check it out at lifeofkev_.
Beautiful, Kev. This has been wonderful, man. Thank you so much for taking a minute out. Thank you for pivoting and being and being accommodating. And best of luck with everything, man. Hopefully, all of the rugby dreams and everything comes true. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Really appreciate the time. And to the viewers, chime in to Joe. Great podcast. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.